What is going on in the United States? It is getting pretty violent. President Trump just sent 700 U.S. Marines to the city of Los Angeles in hopes of keeping peace. I am filming this in my classroom today. Things are pretty busy. I am trying to fit this in to give you another English lesson. It's pretty quiet here. The halls are empty. I don't think we are going to be interrupted. Also, please let me know in the comments, what do you think of this shirt? Some people in my family don't like it. Tell me, should I just burn this shirt, throw it away, never wear it again? In today's English lesson, we are going to be watching a news clip about those 700 Marines. And as we watch that newscast, I will talk about all of the difficult terms, idioms, English phrasal verbs to help you in your next English conversation, or if you are studying for the IELTS or TOEFL exam. Let's watch that clip together, and then I will be back to teach you some English.
Protests throughout the day were largely peaceful, but we did see more vandalism overnight. And with the protests against the government's immigration enforcement ongoing, President Trump has now deployed 700 Marines and 2,000 additional National Guard troops to the city. This is on top of the first wave that arrived this past weekend.
Okay, they mention vandalism. Vandalism, that means damaging or destroying things on purpose. They saw vandalism when some people broke windows near the federal building during protests. And we will talk about what a federal building is a little later. But if you look at the picture, we can see there is a window broken and there is some graffiti written on that window. They mention wave in the newscast, and we have at least 3 different ways we use the word wave, and I would like to talk about those 3 right now. The first one is a verb. You might be familiar with that one. It means to move your hand to say hello or to get attention. Maybe you are sitting in a restaurant and you need the waiter. You might wave your hand, or you see a friend and you wave to say hi. A protester tried to wave at a camera during the demonstration. There was also a reporter that got hit with a rubber bullet. Did you see that?
After hours of standing off, this situation has now rapidly deteriorated. The LAPD moving in on horseback, firing rubber bullets at protesters, moving them on through the heart of LA. You just shut the You okay?
We'll talk about rubber bullets in just a minute. But there is another type of wave you might see at the ocean. This one means the moving of water on the sea. The protesters did not see any ocean waves during the city action. Yeah, the riots or the protests in LA or Los Angeles, they are pretty far away from the ocean. But this is the way they used it in the news report. Wave of soldiers. When soldiers move in large groups. Another wave of National Guard troops arrived in Los Angeles to guard federal buildings. And we will talk about the National Guard and how they are different from our Marines.
Governor Gavin Newsom, meanwhile, has sued the Trump administration over the mobilization of these troops, calling it an unprecedented power grab. He's also threatening to sue over the deployment of Marines. In an interview with CBS Evening News co-anchor John Dickerson, border czar Tom Homan defended the White House's moves.
Gavin Newsom, there is a pretty good chance he is going to run for president in the future, but right now, he is the governor of California. You probably know this, but Los Angeles is a city in the state of California. Gavin Newsom asked a court to stop the military from helping ICE in his state. Yeah, we have a big clash between state governments and the federal government. The federal government is in Washington, D.C. President Trump is part of the federal government. He's the leader. Gavin Newsom is the leader of the state government of California. Mobilization. Mobilization, that means preparing and moving soldiers for action. Yeah, I think the soldiers in Los Angeles have come in 3 different waves. They have been mobilized 3 different times. Mobilized is the verb. The mobilization of Marines surprised many people in Los Angeles. Yeah, if you think about it, the Marines' main job probably is to kill the enemy. So there is a lot of debate if they can actually do the actions of a police officer.
Governor Gavin Newsom, meanwhile, has sued the Trump administration over the mobilization of these troops, calling it an unprecedented power grab. He's also threatening to sue over the deployment of Marines. In an interview with CBS Evening News co-anchor John Dickerson, Border Czar Tom Homan defended the White House's moves.
Was it really necessary to call out the National Guard?
Absolutely was. In the first 2 days, when the violence continued in the city, we had agents assaulted. We had 1,000 protesters at the federal building that decided to become criminals and try to breach that facility.
Unprecedented. Unprecedented. This is a great word to know in English. They use it in the news all the time. And it means never happened before. It was unprecedented to send Marines to help with ICE raids in LA. And I have mentioned ICE in past English lessons. ICE are basically the group of police whose job it is to make sure that everyone in this country is here legally. Tom Homan, he works for President Trump. He works for the federal government. He's the former head of ICE operations. Now he is called the Border Czar. Like he's in charge of the border between Mexico and the US and Canada and the US. Tom Homan said he would support federal immigration actions in California. Breach. This is a good one to know too. It means to break into a place or area you are not supposed to enter. And if you look in the picture, the police are trying to breach that door. I have a sentence here for you using breach. The crowd breached the gate and ran into the federal building. I love this one. Correct me if I'm wrong. You can use this in English all the time. It's used when you're not sure and want feedback. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they sent 700 Marines to Los Angeles. If you're talking to a person and you're not sure if you are absolutely correct, you can say, correct me if I'm wrong. Just in case you don't know, this summer I am offering one-on-one private conversations with me to help you with your English conversations. If that sounds like something that could help you, please take a look at the comment section. I'm also offering 10% off a conversation. Use the code 10OFF at checkout and maybe we will have a chat sometime this summer. Okay, now back to the English lesson. Okay, we must talk about what a federal building is. Sometimes you will have a federal building outside of Washington, D.C. There are several in Los Angeles. It's a government-owned building. They stationed troops outside a federal building to protect it. It's different from a state government building. Did I forget to show a picture of what a federal building might look like? Well, that is what a federal building might look like. Now let's talk about the National Guard. That is the U.S.-based military force. The Marines, the Army, the Air Force, the Navy, they will go fight in other countries. The National Guard is what protects Americans in the United States. The National Guard was sent to help guard ICE agents.
They caused a lot of property damage. I'm glad he did it.
And we have team coverage on this for you this morning. Torian Small is at the White House, but we begin with CBS News correspondent Elise Preston in Los Angeles. Elise, to me, it looks like you're in downtown. Correct me if I'm wrong, but we know that people there are waking up to day 5 of demonstrations. What happened yesterday and overnight?
Well, Errol, yes, you are correct. We are downtown, right outside of the federal building, like where we were when you saw us yesterday. But you can see not as much police activity in front. We do know that there are National Guardsmen standing by right in front of this building right behind me. And it is kind of difficult to get to this area, even though this street is clear. All the highway ramps kind of around it are blocked off.
In the newscast, they mention highway ramp. I wanted to make sure you knew what a highway ramp was. It's a short road that connects a street to a highway. It gives people who are driving cars a chance to slow down because on city streets, you often have to go much slower than you would on a highway. The protesters stood on the highway ramp to stop cars from getting on the freeway. And guess what? Freeway, highway, they're pretty much the same thing. Blocked off. Blocked off. It means closed a road or area so people can't use it. Police blocked off an area to keep protesters out. And this road right here has been blocked off. If you look a little bit further down the road, looks like there might be some flooding. So it could be dangerous for drivers who want to drive on that road.
Now, I can tell you, yesterday, as you mentioned, there was another day of protests. They appeared to be calmer in nature than they had been in the days prior, but we did see flare-ups throughout the day. Now, overnight, we also saw police continue to push protesters out of this area. There were flashbangs used, there were rubber bullets used, and we did see some chaos erupt from the crowd.
A flare up. We do have a couple ways in English we use this term. Maybe I will make an English lesson on my other channel, American English with Brent 2, if you want even more English, not so political on that channel. But flare ups, at least the way they used it in the newscast, means sudden, small outbreaks of violence. There were flare-ups when police used rubber bullets on protesters. Yeah, we'll talk about rubber bullets in a minute, and I also mentioned rubber bullets in a previous English lesson. Yeah, take a look at that picture. It looks like we have a flare-up. Somebody is actually throwing a rock, maybe at the National Guard, maybe at LA Police. It's hard to tell. The police used flashbangs to control the crowd. And in that definition, I am going to use the word grenade. That is what a grenade is in English. So flashbangs are special grenades that make a loud sound and bright light to confuse people. Police used flashbangs to break up the protest without using deadly weapons. Flashbangs are a non-lethal weapon. That means it won't kill people. Rubber bullets, same thing. Non-lethal bullets made of rubber. Rubber is the same material you might find on car tires. They are made from rubber. Officers fired rubber bullets when the crowd became chaotic. If chaotic is a new word for you, don't worry, we are going to talk about it next. I said chaotic before, but the newscast uses chaos. Chaos is the noun, chaotic is the adjective. Chaos means complete disorder and confusion. The scene turned into chaos when protesters and troops clashed. But in that picture, I don't have protesters. I have children in a classroom. There was a lot of chaos in the classroom on the last day of school. It was pretty chaotic. Yeah, and we are getting to the end of the year at my school, but luckily things here are pretty calm. I teach in a high school. My students are older. They're practically adults. I don't think I would ever want to teach in an elementary school. We talked about erupted in the last English lesson. Let's talk about it again for review. It means to suddenly start. Violence can erupt suddenly during big protests. And we often use the verb erupt when we talk about volcanoes.
Now, overnight, we also saw police continue to push protesters out of this area. There were flashbangs used, there were rubber bullets used, and we did see some chaos erupt from the crowd. Some people did throw water bottles at agents throughout the day and last night. At some point, after so many hours of police officers trying to push people out of the crowd, or excuse me, out of downtown, they did move in to take people into custody who were still lingering around.
And meanwhile, Elise, what are you hearing from demonstrators and protesters who continue to show their displeasure with what the federal government is doing?
Well, there's a spectrum from what we're hearing from protesters. There are many peaceful protesters who are coming out here, and they are just voicing their concern, voicing their disdain for these operations that are taking place that happened on Friday and Saturday of last week. And then people are also upset with the federal government's response to the protesting, bringing in the National Guard. Now we're hearing that Marines could also come in. So people are very upset about that. That has actually angered people. And a lot of the anger that we're seeing, it's more so not just from the immigration operations, but also the federal response to kind of keep these protests, to quell these protests, Errol.
Here is a good English phrasal verb that I don't think I've ever taught before. Lingering around. It means staying in a place longer than needed. Some protesters were lingering around even after the curfew. And a curfew in English is when normal, everyday people have to be inside after it gets dark. Law enforcement officers are the only people who are allowed outside after dark. And in the picture, it looks like there are some people lingering around after a party. Displeasure. Often when you see dis in front of a word in English, it means the opposite. So pleasure is a good thing. Displeasure is not a good thing. But of course, this is English. So when you have a rule that you think can apply to everything, it doesn't. Later, we will be talking about disdain, and that rule for dis, meaning the opposite of something in front of a word, doesn't actually apply here. But it does for displeasure, so let's talk about it. It means feeling unhappy or annoyed. The mayor showed her displeasure about the military presence. And in that picture, that mom is showing displeasure. Maybe her son is behaving badly in that store. Spectrum. Spectrum, it means a range of different ideas or types. In the picture, you can see there are a spectrum of colors. Protests showed a spectrum of opinions, from peaceful to angry, voiced. Here we have a verb. Yes, voice can be a verb. You might know voice as like the thing I am using to teach you English, but it can also be a verb. It means expressed something in words. Many residents voiced their displeasure over the use of military force. Disdain. We mentioned it earlier. Let's talk about what it means. To strongly dislike or disrespect. Some people voiced disdain for the federal deployment. Deployment can also mean sending troops out somewhere. Quell. That means to stop or calm something. The government said the troops were there to quell the unrest. Congratulations, you made it to the end of another English lesson. Don't forget, if you would like to have a conversation with me, use 10 off at checkout to get 10% off. And if you are looking for more English about these protests in Los Angeles, there's an English lesson right down there for you. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time.